Hey yoga teachers, Nick Danu here. If we haven't met before, I am a Yin Yoga teacher trainer. I have a therapeutic teacher training program that is designed for yoga teachers to learn how to teach Yin. And not just to learn how to teach Yin, but to how to teach Yin in a therapeutic way. So I wanted to talk today about talking. Often when we are a teacher that moves from a style of yoga that's quite busy, whether that be hatha or hatha vinyasa or ashtanga or whatever your movement-based form of yoga is, and then we try to teach some of these quieter forms of yoga, like yin yoga, there can be this tendency, and I know I have fallen into this in my history and still, if I'm not careful, have to watch this, to talk the whole time. Some of this comes from the teacher's own discomfort with quietness. And sometimes it just comes from habit. Like I'm used to saying, 5 cues for each pose. And now they're in the pose and what am I supposed to say? So sometimes it comes from just habit. And sometimes it comes from the fact that as the teacher, you're uncomfortable with the quiet space. Sometimes it comes up when, as the teacher, maybe you're sometimes comfortable with quiet space, but I think we've all had one of those experiences where we come to a class and there's like a vibe happening. Like those of us that are sensitive, it's like there's people are not happy today in this room. There's like a discomfort or a grumpiness or a harumpness that's happening in the room. And so we can think that as the teacher, it's our job to kind of fix that, right? To get everybody comfortable, to make everybody happy, to get everybody into sort of the state of mind of being content in their practice. None of that's true. It's not your job. In fact, their discomfort is often key to growth. And I'll link a video here or wherever YouTube puts them, where I talk more about being uncomfortable in yin practice. I'll link that one. I'll also put it in the show notes or in the notes below the video. So sometimes we talk a lot because we're uncomfortable with silence. Sometimes we talk a lot because we sense that there's uncomfortableness in the room. And so we're trying to find a way to fill the space with all kinds of inspiring words and quotes and things that will help people become comfortable. Sometimes it's just habit. It's just that we're used to saying, inhale here, put your foot here, exhale here, do this, align this with this. And so we just are like, wait, what? I just stopped talking? Yeah, you just stopped talking. Now, that being said, I do think that there is, if you're teaching drop-in classes and you have people that are new to yin, there is definitely a place for just a brief, skillful discussion of how yin yoga is different and how to practice it. And if right now you're like, I don't know what that is, it's probably because you don't have yin training. I'll talk about that in a moment. So there is a skill in just briefly saying, hey, welcome to a yin class. Yin's different than other forms of yoga, movement or dynamic forms of yoga. And here's a few ways that it's different. And here's a few tips, right? That is super helpful. And then shut the bleep up. Stop it. Stop talking. You could share a quote. Sure, great. But then let there be quiet time. I can't count how many times I've been to a yin class, even with very good experienced teachers, and there's so much talking in the class that it never allows me to drop into my body and into my own nervous system and my own experience. This can look like alignment cues, which again, not part of yin. So getting people safely into the pose, then you're done. You don't need to keep talking, and you don't need to give them 5 alignment cues to get into a shape. Not relevant. This can look like being so attached to your class theme and all of the pretty quotes that you've created that you're not allowing any time for silence. So I always say, if you're going to share a reading, and this is just my own opinion, pick one quote, one reading, do it near the beginning of class. How near you do it depends on how much experience in yin your students have. If they're all seasoned yinnies, you might do it like right in the second pose. And then you can repeat it again near the end of class, just before Shavasana or when they're in their last shape. But that's one quote, one reading. I've been in classes where it's like they have a theme, so they've collected, 10 quotes or 8 quotes or even 5 quotes on that theme. And so every time you go into a pose, not only are they directing you physically on how to get into the pose, but then on top of that, they're sharing a quote. And it's a different quote than the last quote. Here's the thing, language is heady, right? It's analytical. So when people listen to words, they're staying up here and they're not dropping into their body. I'm going to say that again. When people are listening to all the words, they're up here, analyzing, making an understanding of the words, figuring out how it relates to them, deciding their opinions of it. Do I like that quote? Do I not like that quote? You get the idea. And they're not dropping into their body. So, here's when teachers talk too much. When they're nervous about teaching yin because it's new to them. When they feel discomfort in the room and they feel like it's their job to make that discomfort go away somehow. Or when they're so attached to their theme that they're not reading the room and allowing plenty of space for quiet and for settling. So these are some of the examples of when teachers talk too much in a class. I do teach a couple drop-in classes, and so sometimes I have to talk more than I want because there's a whole bunch of people, they're brand new, and I really don't feel like if someone's never done yin, all of a sudden throwing them into 5-minute holds and stillness without a framework feels to me sort of like you're throwing them to the wolves. So there's a little talking that I need to do. That being said, if everybody in the room has already done yin, very little talking from me, very little, and allowing time and space for people to drop into their body, to drop into their nervous system, to begin to settle, to take that much needed time to be quiet and to process. All right, that's what I have for you today. I would love to know in the comments below, have you ever noticed this in yourself? The need to like dot, 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 through the whole thing. I've noticed it in myself. I've done it. I try not to do it anymore. I try to remove as many words as possible while still allowing them to experience the class, but it's definitely happened. So I'd love to know below. If you teach yin, how do you feel about being quiet? If you don't teach yin and you're interested in yin, I have a 60 plus hour, at this point it's 60 plus hour, that may change in the future, therapeutic yin teacher training. This is designed for teachers that are already at least a 200-hour teacher or more, and that have been teaching for a couple of years. So if you are wanting to, if you're a yoga teacher and you're wanting to add yin yoga to your styles of teaching that you are certified in, I would love to have you. My teacher training is nervous system based, therapeutic, accessible. So we go over tons of options on how to make the poses accessible to a variety of different bodies, and it's steeped in traditional Chinese medicine. So that's kind of some of the things that make my yin training unique. It's also online. You get access to the recordings for an extended amount of time, so you can go back to them again and again. And that's a little bit about it. And if you want to learn more, again, I'll leave a link so that you can check that out. But in the comments, let me know. Have you found yourself doing this, talking a lot when you really don't need to? All right. Thanks, and I'll talk to you later. Bye for now. If you're new to my YouTube channel, take a moment to like this video and subscribe and click the little notification bell so that you'll get more helpful teaching tips as I release videos. Bye for now.